All right. So the last in the last YouTube clip, what we saw was the movie The Champ, and I was saying that ethically we have to do something to help participants feel better once they leave because we can't let them leave the lab feeling sad. And so what we did, this is what we did. So this is the YouTube video that we showed people at the end of the study. So this is after the whole study was over. So we made them sad. We had them do some "How do you feel right now?" kind of questions, and then we show them this. So this is also on YouTube. It's very funny. I also can't make it big, so let's just watch this real quick because apparently I need to repair your negative affect as well. So here we go.
That's the funniest thing ever. Here you go. Here. Another piece. Ready? You got a ribbon, yeah. You got a ribbon, yeah. You know it's coming. Grab it.
All right, so oh, so that's one of my favorite YouTube clips of all time. The I love just watching that baby laugh. So once again, so this is what we did to participants, and the reason why we had to do this was because once again we had to make people not feel sad when they left, and what people ended up reporting, these participants, was that watching that baby laugh really did make them feel less sad, and they actually forgot about a lot of the stuff they saw in The Champ, which was the goal of that type of thing. So remember, that's the goal. So the overall goal, once again, is to have people leave in the same psychological state that they came in, or in a better psychological state. And that's how we got the study that I described to you past the IRB. All right, so how else do we do this? Well, how we achieve this goal. So number one, obviously, is we can show a funny movie, but that's not like the cure all for every single particular study that we run. And so the first thing we have to do is we have to understand that all participants have to sign an informed consent. All adult participants, let's be clear on that, have to sign an informed consent. The informed consent is basically, the way I view it, is kind of like a contract with the participant. If you've ever done Psych 101 in college, then you would have had to have done some psych studies, and then you would have had to do this informed consent at first. And the informed consent outlines specifically what the study is about. So it outlines the purpose. It also outlines the risks and the benefits, and then it kind of gives additional information as it's related to the study. All right, so informed consent is going to be very important, and basically at any point, if a participant reads their informed consent and doesn't feel comfortable with what they're doing or wants to opt out of it, they can. So if I wrote in an informed consent that we are going to be watching a really sad movie about a death, or if I was to do alcohol research, if I was to say, you will be randomly assigned to drink alcohol or not, or even if we're going to do a study of the effects of pornography, and I was to say in this informed consent, you may watch sexual acts on TV, if that ever makes you feel uncomfortable, you can leave. All right, so you don't have to start the study. You just up and leave. In addition to that, on the informed consent, it should say somewhere on there that if at any point in time during the study, if you want to stop for whatever reason, that's fine, and you should still be able to get whatever you were promised. All right. So in the case of Gen Psych students, that typically means that if they do half the study and then they're just like, I just don't feel comfortable with this, then they can leave and they would still get their experimental credit. All right. For a minor, you have to do a lot more work. You have to do parental consent. Parental consent is you have to send a detailed letter and basically a copy of the version of the informed consent to the parent to sign off, to let their minor be a part of your study. And then even then, when the minor comes in, if they're old enough, then they have to give what's called a child assent, which means that, once again, depending on the age, they have to sign basically a child assent form, which is equivalent to an informed consent. All right, if they're younger and they can't read yet or whatever, then there's verbal assent that should be given. Obviously, if you're dealing with like babies and stuff, you can't do that. But needless to say, the informed consent is one way that we can achieve this goal. So if anyone feels uncomfortable, they can just leave, and the participant needs to know that. All right, the second is after the study is over, you have to fully debrief the participants. All right, so in my lab, once again, like I said in chapter 1, I study the effects of provocation on aggression. And participants in my lab are under the impression that they're working with someone else next door, and the participant gets to write a essay, and the participant, their partner, gets to grade it. And if they're provoked, they're told it's one of the worst essays I've ever read. Well, we have to debrief them at the end. We have to tell them, like, look, we lied to you. The jig is up. We had to lie to you about a couple things. We tell them we lied to you. There really is no partner next door. The person you saw is actually cahoots with the research team. They're a Confederate. And we also have to tell them, like, there is no real essay grade. It was part of the study. Like, no one ever really graded your essay. And we have to do that because, once again, hopefully by doing that, it'll put them in the same or better psychological state from what they left. So if they come in if they're mad because of the provocation that we gave them, hopefully by debriefing them, and we say, like, hey, look, no one really provoked you. We were just kidding. We had to lie to you about certain things. The reason we had to lie is because we're looking at behavior. If you didn't think there was a partner, or if you thought that the essay grading was fake, then we wouldn't get at your true behaviors. All right, we would get at this kind of watered down fake behavior, and we don't want that. And by telling them that, hopefully they become less angry. Now, I have had, in my thousands of participants that I've run, one person this is for my dissertation, found out, guessed, I guess, kind of midway through the study that we were tricking him. Like so he figured it out. And he was really upset, not because of the provocation we gave him, but because we, quote unquote, wasted his time. And he was really mad. And my research assistants called me on my phone, and I had to go up to my lab, and we had to talk about why we had to do this. And he kept insisting that it was a waste of his time. And ethically, I was like, I can't let you leave. I told him that. I said, ethically, you cannot leave this room until you are done being upset. All right, now you have to, and I told him, like, you have two choices. We can talk about it, and you can work through this with me, or I had to actually get a counselor or a faculty member to come and deal with this. And I said, that is not a good place to be. So let's just talk about it. And we did. And I think he finally calmed down. And I mean, obviously I let him go at some point. But the thing is that the debriefing is going to be important here. We have to tell them exactly what we're doing, even if we lie to them, even if we use deception. And this is part of the thing where, remember, these are not cure-alls. So in the Milgram study, they were shocking people. At the end of the study, the Confederate came in and be like, haha, look, I'm not dead. Like, you shocked me a lot. You may have thought that, but here I am. I'm healthy. Everything's good. But that's still... So that may relieve some of the anxiety the participant feels. But in the Milgram study, that's still unethical because the participant may leave with the knowledge that they have the ability to kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? So that makes it tricky. So the debriefing isn't like a cure-all. But certainly it helps in relieving a lot of the stuff that we do today. All right. Now, so the informed consent and the debrief are going to be key here. And then finally, what we have is the IRB board. So the IRB stands for Institutional Review Board. So the IRB And the IRB is any college or university that does research with human participants needs to send their proposal to the IRB, and the IRB is charged with making sure that the study is ethical in the sense that the amount of harm it may or may not cause is dwarfed by the safeguards in the study. All right, so the safeguards obviously being like informed consent, debriefing, stuff like that. So I am a part of the Gettysburg College IRB. I sit on there. It's a group. So the IRB, the way it's set up is there's a group of us, and this is for all colleges and universities. It's usually made up of anywhere from 3 to I've seen as high as 7 members, and they're the people who make up this IRB board are people from all different sciences and subdisciplines that use human participants. So in the IRB here at Gettysburg College, we have me, a psychologist. We have, I think, one anthropologist, one person in one of the languages, and a person who is in a religious department. And then we have someone from the provost office who also is from health sciences. All right, so we have different disciplines, and what we do is we get proposals, and what we do in these proposals is we read them to make sure that everything is safe as it can be. All right. Now, the IRB, in addition to having all the academics, it also has to be the board also has to have one member of the IRB that is not an academic. So right now at Gettysburg College, we have a person on the IRB. His name is Tim. Tim is I believe he's a software engineer. Right. When I was at Iowa State getting my PhD, we had a priest from a local Catholic church as the non-member, and so you have to have at least one non-academic. And the reason why we have this non-academic is because we want to make sure that we're just not passing studies through to benefit the college or the institution that you're at. So you got to imagine that us academics, we're motivated to have the best research done possible. It makes Gettysburg College look good to get these findings published, and it increases our prestige and it increases our awareness so that we attract good students. And so every college and institution is motivated by this. And the non-academic is there to make sure that we're not just saying, oh, it's unethical, but it's really cool, so let's do it to help the college out. So that's what the non-academic is there for, and they're very helpful. They're very useful, very nice, and so that's what we do. And once again, in this IRB, we get these proposals, we look them over to make sure that the risks are minimal or as minimal as they can be, and if there are more than minimal risks, we make sure that there are safeguards in check to make sure that those risks are as negated as possible. So health sciences is a good example where they have to, if they take like blood samples or if they do any sort of thing like that, well, that's a risk, right? You're getting needles stuck in your arm. And so as an IRB member, I have to make sure that there is a person on staff who's trained to do that. I have to make sure that after it's done, there's the proper bandaging and the proper protocol in place to, make sure they don't bleed everywhere. And, we also have to make sure that the files, like where the blood samples are stored is safe and protected and things like that. And once again, and we have to make sure that things are anonymous and names are confidential, and safeguards are in place for that so no one can be identified. And that's what the IRB is charged with. And by doing so, when a study passes IRB, then it can be run. And because the college said, these experts say that it's not going to cause any undue harm. And if it does, once again, those risks are negated. So the IRB is very important. And their goal is the same as everyone's goal, is to advance science, but understand that science comes with a cost, and that cost needs to be relatively small, or at least smaller than the gains.